Zach Thomas, everybody, is going to be speaking about getting the frog out of the well.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, all right. My name's Zach Thomas. I work at Blinker out in Denver. My talk is called Getting the Frog Out of the Well, which I think really the just title speaks for itself. I think we all know what I'm talking about there. We've all been there. We all know what that's like. The talk title comes from a Chinese idiom, a chengyu, that just talks about a frog literally living at the bottom of a well, looking up at the sky, and thinking that's pretty much all there is in the world. A lot of times it's used to talk about limited perspective and comes from an old story where the frog is sitting at the bottom of the well, and along comes a bird or a turtle sometimes, and they're like, what's going on here? Like, you're down at the bottom of the well. Don't you ever want to leave, go see the rest of the world, go see, the bird will ask, don't you want to see the rest of the sky? Turtle will ask, like, don't you want to come see the ocean? It's so much better than your little well. This really sucks. And the frog kind of says, like, I don't know. Like, this is pretty great down here. I'm having a good time. I'm really liking it. So originally, my talk was about something very different than it is today. I've been working on a library and kind of a design philosophy around componentized design, about breaking things down into these really pure, small, functional bits that I think would be way better to work on, that I really liked. They really sound interesting. And the title came from the perspective of somebody working in a big monolith, like a big Rails monolith or a Phoenix monolith, right? That you have this little tiny perspective and you want to be looking at more than you are, right? That was kind of my original idea, but as I started working on it, right, I realized what I was actually saying is I really like the idea of small functional components, componentized design, breaking out big monoliths. That sounds fun for me to do, but then I would be coming here and saying, like, this is how you have to build your systems. This is how you have to construct your apps, how you have to architect things. And I realized that, like, I'm totally wrong, right? Not because I think it's a bad idea. I don't think I was wrong about what I was saying, but that I'm unable to tell you what's best for your system, right? Okay, so before we get into it, two things. One, I only have animal pictures. That's it. So the first one, we're just gonna have that up. People told me they don't want to just be looking at me while I'm talking, so this is Likos the business dog. And second of all, I have a question for you. Are you a good programmer? Excellent. We're done. That's it. We can all go home. Good job. We're really early, Justice. I hope you like that. Now we're done. All right, so how do you know if you are? Right? Do you have metrics? Do you have, like, do you measure throughput? Are you looking at code review and says, I get a lot of thumbs up, I'm doing great? Do you follow, like, the coolest paradigms that you read on a Medium article that has 3 views? And then you know, like, okay, I'm really at the forefront here. I know what's going on. I have a different idea about what the metric is, right? A metric that we can use. So I'm going to try to convince you to have fun. Not because you deserve to. I'm sure you do. You guys seem great. Y'all are awesome. But I really think that that's the best metric for how efficient you're being, especially in this industry. All right, so I have another question and another slide of cute business dog. What's the most fun that you've ever had coding? Ever. Think about it for a second. Like, really do try to picture in your head, what was the most fun you've ever had? What were you doing? How long ago was that? For a lot of people, it was a long time ago. And that's sad, right? That's not good. Why was that fun, right? Whatever it was. I asked around a lot. I talked to a lot of people in my local community. I talked to people I work with, friends of mine. What's the most fun you've ever had coding? And I got a lot of different answers, right? There's some people that kind of fall into the learning camp. Learning is the thing that really gets them going. That's super interesting. Some people are more about like test pass, making the black box work, like red to green. That's really fun. Some people just love bringing order to chaos. That was a whole class of people that I talked to. But there's not like a good solid answer. And sometimes someone would say, this is the most fun, and someone else would say, I hate that. Can't stand it. There's some commonalities, right? You have to be relaxed. You have to be unafraid. You have to have some sort of sense of fluency with what you're doing, right? But there's no single answer. Okay, another question. What's the least fun you've ever had coding? And was that more recent and more frequent than the most fun? And I'm going to bet, without taking a poll, that the answer is yes. Right? That was way more recent. That was way more frequent, right? How efficient were you during the worst time you've ever been coding? Like, just from a pure business value standpoint, how well were you chugging away at what you were doing? I'm going to bet not super well, right? We all want to be better, and we all want to be better programmers, but there's not really a silver bullet in terms of a paradigm or a way to do something or a language or a tool that we can use, right? And a lot of times we ignore how we're feeling when we're coding. All right. This is Miko, not a business animal. Just a normal animal. I can't tell you how to code, right? I can't tell you what's going to work best for you, right? And someone else's successes isn't yours, right? When I bring the library design that I'm working on to a team, right, they might not be interested. That might sound just awful, right? I have to separate out pure, unpure. What am I doing? Like, that doesn't matter. This is ridiculous, right? One thing doesn't work everywhere. So I'm saying you should be trusting your fun, right? And not only your fun, but the fun of the team that you're on, right? The group you're in, the community you're in, right? Together, there's going to be something that's going to really make the team work together well and make you have a lot of fun while you're doing it. I really think that fun, kind of our aesthetic judgments of the code that we're working on, is our subconscious, right? It's our subconscious keeping track of what's working well and what's not working well. When you're having a good time, it's usually because you're chugging away at something, you're being really efficient, things are coming together in ways that you didn't expect, in ways that are exciting and new, right? And when you're having a bad time, that's also a good indicator of there's something that isn't working. We have to reassess what we were thinking. We have to approach this in a different way. All right, so how does this relate to like frogs and wells and birds and turtles and things like that? So the point of the story that I think is subtle, that's missed a lot, is that there isn't a right answer. The frog isn't right, the bird isn't right, the turtle isn't right. Everybody has a place that they're the most comfortable, and that can change over time, but they have to come together to figure that out, right? So you have to pay attention to your preferences. What's your well or your ocean or your sky thing? You have to figure out what you like and what your team likes, right? Some teams it's harder to work on because maybe the ocean is very far away from the well for y'all. But for some, it works really well together. So if it's fun meeting business needs in whatever language or whatever stack or whatever code base or whatever smaller paradigm or design strategy you have, and your whole team feels that way, then that's the direction that you should go. So try things, listen to whether you hate them, right? Listen to yourself. Do I love doing this? Do I hate doing this? When I go into work, am I excited about working on this code base? If not, what are the parts that I hate? What are the parts that I really like? The more something sucks, the slower it is to work on. And whoever is paying you really wants it to be fun at the end of the day, because the more you're going to do a lot more work at the end. You're going to do a lot more work on your own, and it's going to flow a lot better. And I think that's why we're all here in this community, right? Doing Elixir. Another slide of business talk. I think that's why we're all here, right? We were looking for something fun, something exciting. A while ago, we were looking for something new, maybe. And Elixir fills that need. And we're all here together because we all think it's fun to work on this language, right? And that makes us, I would say, better developers. All right, so what do you do? What's the actual takeaway from this, right? So it's really hard to tell somebody, all right, go have fun, right? That's a very hard imperative statement to make. So at the end of the day, I think what you should aim for is making it so that your team is having fun with what you've written and what you've made, right? You want the bird and the frog to work together well, right? And at the end of the day, you might just have fun with it too. That's it. Thanks. Okay, so the question was, it seems really rare to have enterprise companies, businesses in general, that embrace this philosophy. And how do we subversively start doing that? Which I like. Okay, so I think there's kind of like a two-part answer. I've gotten this question before when I've given this talk before. First of all, I think this starts at the team level, right? Whatever the smallest unit of community that you have is, that's where it starts. And it's a lot easier to convince a group of 4 other people, hey, what if this just didn't suck, right? That's not a super subversive idea. Hopefully. But I think that there can be some pushback, right, on the business side. There can be some pushback, like, we really want to use this technology or this tool or this stack or this design paradigm because it's really fun to work in, right? I don't have a great answer for that, aside from if you can't change your company, change your company. You know what I mean? There's lots of places out there that really do want you to have fun and really do want you to be really efficient, right? If you can't make the argument that, listen, at the end of the day, I'm efficient when I don't hate to work for you, I don't know about you, but to me the answer is pretty clear, like, the door is over there and let's get through it. I hope that answered that question. Oh, all right, the question is, when do I have the most fun coding? That's a really good question. Most recently, I think the most fun coding I've had, and this might be controversial, is in Elm. That's been the most fun coding I've had. And I've been thinking a lot about why that is, and that's been leading me a lot of, I've been writing some designs and specifications and things like that for myself about maybe porting that fun over to the world of Elixir. But to me, the strongly typed, the statically typed, really nice compiler, strict language, that is a lot of fun for me. But there's people on my team who hate that, right? That's a lot of why I started with this talk. At first, I was kind of trying to port what I thought was fun over to Elixir into what we're designing. And for some people, that's just awful, right? That's not what they want to be doing. But there is a fun middle ground where both me and the other people in my team can be having a lot of fun doing what we need to do. That was kind of the inspiration for that. All right, so the question is, I'm a boot camp grad, is part of the question. And before that, I was a philosophy major type person at a liberal arts college. So Bruce was saying that I took a bit of an unorthodox path, which is true. And I think that does kind of influence this. I think everything influences whatever the next step is. But I mean, really the biggest thing that it's changed about how I operate is I question things probably more than I should, right? And so that's That's probably the biggest influence that's had on. So the question is kind of, productivity isn't always necessarily what fun is, which I'm not necessarily sure if I always agree about that. But a more like you're asking for a more precise way to say what I'm saying, like maybe a sellable way to say what I'm saying. Yeah, we could talk about like aesthetic resonance if you want to talk about that, right? I don't think we do want to talk about that, but we can. We can do that. That can be this next 30 seconds. That can be what we're doing. I think in a really simple way, it's just whatever speaks to you, right? Whatever you look at and says something to you and makes sense to you and clicks with you, right? Click is probably the closest not fun word for fun that I would talk about.
What brings you joy?
Yeah, you can Marie Kondo it, 100%. Yeah, totally. How much time do we have? That's it? Good. Thanks.